Hello. Today I will be going over how to choose your specific project once you know what category you're interested in. I will also go over a basic timeline for your project. If you have done a project before, you can always do a continuation project instead of coming up with a new idea. It is important to remember that continuation projects must have something changed. You could measure a different variable or follow a different procedure. However, collecting more data on the same variable does not count. Something has to change. You can also use past project titles to come up with a new project. If your original project is "What is the effect of aloe vera on planaria regeneration?" the new project could be "What is the effect of vitamin C on planaria regeneration?" If the original project is "Does color affect solar energy?" it could be "How does temperature affect solar energy?" Maybe you looked at how altitude affects how high a volleyball bounces. You could then look at how does temperature affect how high a volleyball bounces. If the original project is "Does font color affect memory?" then you could look at "Does font size affect memory?" For an engineering example, if the original project was a device that makes a map of a room using sensors, the new project could be a device that maps the room and communicates the layout to a deaf or blind person. Or it could be a device that makes a map of the room using infrared sensors instead. Once you know what area or category you're interested in, it's time to come up with a project. You may need to do some research before you come up with your specific project. Once you have an idea, you need to make sure it's reasonable. For science projects, you ask a question that you're going to test. You also have to make sure your project is an experiment and not a demonstration. A demonstration would be building a volcano or making a model of the solar system. Your project needs to have independent and dependent variables, as well as have enough trials to make for a significant sample size. Your project also has to be doable. You need to be able to obtain all the supplies and do the experiment. If you can't collect data, then you probably need to come up with a new project. Engineering projects have slightly different guidelines. Your project needs to solve or fix a problem. You can ask yourself, does your project make doing something easier or help prevent something dangerous from happening? Is it an improved version of an existing product? You also need to make sure you can test your design to make sure it works. Now that you have a project, it's time to start working on it. Remember, your project needs to be completed by March when the fair happens. There are also multiple screening deadlines you need to meet. Here is an example timeline that you could follow. Here is the recommended timeline for projects. There are two major deadlines to be aware of: the safety screening deadline and the submission deadline for getting accepted at the fair. The GSDSEF website has a step-by-step process on how to sign up and submit your project proposal and final project. Remember, your project is going to take time. It won't just happen magically, so make sure you use your time wisely. Junior division projects typically take about 2 months to complete. Senior division projects are more complicated and will take longer. Of course, this is just an estimate. The more complicated the project, the longer it's going to take. Also, if for example you need to wait for plants to grow, it's going to take time. When making your timeline, make sure you spread it out and don't just save it for the end. Challenges may pop up along the way and you want to make sure you have time to deal with them. Have fun choosing your project, and I'll see you in the next video.